kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
Welcome everybody in on this beautiful Saturday night to Sim Racing Media. Tonight we see the racers of the Dynasty Racing League take their Cup Series to Daytona for their season opener. I am Mike Simone up in the booth, and tonight I'm joined by Matt Metler. How is it going, Matt?
Mike, it's going fantastic. Long anticipated return, quite frankly, the best drivers showcasing the Gen 4 car. And only the boys at Dynasty Racing League know how to do it back here at the high banks of Daytona. And I don't know about you, but I am fired up and ready to go, sir.
Definitely. They kicked off their Pro Series last night. I had the privilege of broadcasting and seeing those guys make their way around. I can only imagine what's going to happen once they get these Gen 4 cars up to speed and around this track. Last night we saw quite a few side-by-side racers. We had a few single files. We even had a late race caution that helped Austin Collins win that race. He is not here tonight, but definitely look forward to seeing what can happen when these guys get going here momentarily. They're just wrapping up practice, have about a minute left. Right now, Matt Burgess is the fastest with a 45.14, so that is with the draft. Without the draft, I'm going to say these guys are going to be 46.5. 47 is probably where we'll see them in qualifying trim.
Yeah, I would say you're right. Like, I expect low to mid 47, single car. Now, the interesting thing there is I was pretty certain this NW09 variant would be the same, since the Gen 4 car is restricted in this instance. It has the restrictor plate. So I thought these times would be very similar to what we were seeing last night. However, it looks like they're a little bit faster as some of these cars are already in the 45-second bracket.
Yeah, definitely. Last night we did not see didn't see that 45-second mark. Fastest they went last night was a 46:10, and these guys have, multiple drivers have already broke that. So definitely think we are going to be in for a show. This will be, I believe it's probably going to be my first time broadcasting this Gen 4 series car. So we'll see how it stacks up with the others we've witnessed.
Well, Mike, the only thing I can tell you is get your popcorn and strap yourself in. You're going to be treated to one of the best Gen 4 races at Daytona you've probably seen in a long time. James Pandolf last season, he was in position to lead each restrictor plate only to have trouble strike. So look for the Moo Crew on that 74, James Pandolf, to potentially come out of here with a W. However, you want to talk about the cream of the crop when it comes to DRL. Taylor the Butcher Benjamin, TBP, Austin Collins, you mentioned AC. He's not going to be here tonight.
Oh, he just jumped in.
Man, AC is in the house. Austin Collins. And you cannot mention Austin Collins without talking about the man that set the record for the all-time wins in the DRL series. That man, no other than Thomas the Hammer Harmon in that 68. Some of the ones to watch tonight. Can't wait for this team to get ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, definitely. You'll see these guys try and stay as close as they can to that wall on this first lap. You want to get as much speed built into that car before you take it and drive right down on that left-hand yellow line there. You want to keep it as close as you can to that to maximize the speed that you can carry through. And we'll see how these guys handle it. Looks like Thomas Harmon is about halfway through. Taylor Butcher Benjamin as well. So these guys will be logging their first lap momentarily, and we'll see where they where that line is going to be drawn momentarily.
Yeah, we will. They're now on their out lap, and look for that hit that speed that's going to be the fastest of the two laps. Definitely going to be on that second lap. Mike, you mentioned running right down on that yellow line in qualifying trim. That's going to be the shortest way around this 2.5-mile oval right here in the heart of Florida. However, to get that maximum speed on that second lap, look for these drivers to really get that car wound up on the high side, just like you mentioned. You really got to combo both laps perfectly if you want to get those extra tenths of a second that can lead you to the pole here.
Yeah, Richard Springer last night was on the pole, led a lot of laps with the 49.11. James Pandolf, though, paddles right back on his first lap and goes 48.98. So I'm going to say it's going to be, I bet they're closer to 48 flat for the pole position here as everybody works their way through their second lap. That second lap's going to be, I'm going to say, at least a second faster.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Mike. We're maybe a little too nice on the speed we were guesstimating there. Is Richard Springer now knocks off James Pandolf, and Taylor Butcher Benjamin goes to the top of the pylon with a 48.60. He's the fastest man in Florida right now in qualifying.
Yeah, he knocked off quite a bit of time on his lap there. James Pandolf didn't knock off quite as much. He put up about the same time as he put up the first time. Chris Vanderplat's here. First lap was not where he wanted to be. He was a 51.87, so he will definitely be looking to try and move up the board momentarily.
Yeah, some of these drivers right now, you mentioned CVP, Chris Vanderplat's, probably the 66 of Sam Niederhelm as well, not having the laps they probably were gunning for. But then again, it's Daytona. If you're in this race, you can win it. You just have to survive and be alive at the end. So some of these drivers may take a conservative here and try to just survive in the back before they make their way to the front. You may see some of these drivers not put up a lap in qualifying if that's their strategy.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it last night. Guys went clear to the back. The guy that finished fourth, he was a lap down before the green-white checker, and he came back and finished fourth. So anything's possible. It is Daytona. It's always going to be, you know, who can avoid the big one or the late race caution or be at the right place at exactly the right time.
Yeah, well said, Mike. And speaking of cautions, one of the things that this series did so well last year was running these races flag to flag with 0 cautions, only averaging, I'm not kidding, 2.32 cautions per race over the course of their last season. So fuel mileage, just like last night, may come part of the equation here as these laps start to wind down.
It looks like Matt Burgess is not going to finish his. So that is another thing that's a little bit different with these with this series is they get 5 minutes. That's it. You get there, you get in your car, you go make your qualifying lap, and then they move on. So they're going to get gridded up here, and we'll go through the grid momentarily.
Yeah, you don't get 10 minutes in this series like you do others. You can't really sit there and play the wind or the current ambient air temp or track temp. 5 minutes, you got to jump right out there and post a lap. You don't have time to sit and wait in the pits.
Yeah, definitely not. Get these guys locked in here. Getting set here momentarily. Richard Springer back on the pole tonight. So back-to-back to poles and 2 nights for him. Dustin Musil in P2. Taylor Butcher Benjamin and Thomas Harmon in row 2. Row 3, Jacob Gladulish and James Pandolf there. Chris Vanderplatz and Brandon Brobry in row 4. Row 5, PJ O'Leary and Austin Collins. Austin was able to win last night. We got
Sam Niederhelm in the 66 going to roll off P11, and outside of him, the 12 of Matt Burgess, who had a good run last night. 13th belongs to the 5 of Bryce Boyer. Well, outside of him, in 15th, going to have Blake Henderson. 16th is going to be Marcus Chaffin. 17th, the 19 of David Anderson. And 18 cars tonight looks like going to start tonight. Take that green flag, Mike. The 31 of Paul Hessler.
Yeah, they will definitely get set to go here.
One thing we haven't talked about yet is the weather here at Daytona, and these restrictor plate engines, that weather can be a very critical factor in just how you tune this race car for tonight. That track temp, a scorching 111 degrees Fahrenheit. The ambient air temp, however, only 78 degrees. So you really got to pay attention, and hopefully these drivers and crew chiefs are well aware of not to be fooled by that cooler air temp, because that track is well over the century mark. The winds out of the east at 12 miles per hour. There's another silent assassin that can really plague these race cars. If you catch that gust in the back of the car in traffic, sometimes it may get pushed loose. So you got to pay attention to that as well, as that's an invisible force that these drivers cannot see or anticipate at times.
Yeah, definitely something to pay attention to. We saw it last night, and I'm sure we'll see it tonight. A lot of these times, especially with the DRL here, these guys run tons of green flag laps, and last night was going to be a strategy call. Some guys didn't know if they were going to have enough fuel with that wind and everything else playing on it. It'll be another one of those races tonight, if I'm not mistaken. We're set for 100 laps here. They've got 4 sets of tires, but restrictor plates, tires don't really matter, but we do have a field of 18 drivers here. Well, looks like 15 on the grid. So
yeah, you're right. 15 on the grid right now. However, 18 drivers total. I ran practice. I'm up here in the booth alongside you. So looks like we're going to have 15 take that green flag here tonight. You are correct, Mike. Is Richard Springer able to double down back-to-back nights and sit on the pole here at Daytona? And that is impressive. Now under the green flag here from Daytona, Richard Springer and company, DRL, with SRM season number 2 underway. Let's get this party started, Mike.
Richard Springer's out on that bottom lane, is able to kind of maintain his lead, but that top side got Dustin Musial and Thomas Harmon working well together. Taylor Butcher Benjamin is behind. Looks like, looking at the Discord, is his teammate there, Richard Springer, in that dysfunctional Patriots team.
Yeah, you mentioned dysfunctional Patriots team. One person that's a Patriot, however, he is not dysfunctional. It's hammer time. Thomas the Hammer Harmon on that top side, outside lane. Look at the push that he's given right there to that top line. Look for him to go up here and try to challenge for the lead early, as we have a side-by-side drag race at over 197 miles an hour.
He goes to the inside, makes it 3 wide. Dustin Musial gets pushed up into that outside wall. He's able to hang on and jump back down, and well, I was going to say he was jumping back down, but it looks like he's going to try and stay out high and float to the back here, as Thomas Harmon is leading the outside lane now.
Harmon to the point in the outside lane, but he's got close company there from the Moon Crew. That is AKA James Pandolf and DK, the Drift Crane, Jacob Glodulitz, who make up the top, the 3 running that top side groove. Here they come. Looks like Harmon has the advantage over Springer at the line, and he should get credit for leading that lap. But here comes Springer and Charger Hyde on the inside, looking to come back with help from Taylor Butcher Benjamin, as they're still 2x2, stacked almost all the way back.
Yeah, definitely. And as we were going through that tri-oval there, looked like Brandon Brobery was trying to get on track after starting in the pits and hit that gas a little bit too soon. Luckily, he stayed down low, and we're still green right now.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is Kevin LePage the field, and you know what I'm talking about there, Mike. Did a good job staying out of traffic. He's going to float to the back. Hopefully, he's able to pick up the tail of this draft, because if you don't, as we seen last night, that can be costly, as you're out there basically running by yourself until you're lucky enough to catch a caution, which happens far few and in between here. Still at the front of the field, it's a slugfest between Richard Springer in the 21 rocking the bottom and Harmon on the top shelf, where Mama likes to hide the cookies. They still haven't gotten it sorted out, as they're still side by side. Heading into the 3-4 complex once again is now the 68 and 74 Pandolf surge ahead, but I doubt Harmon's going to come down here and abandon Pandolf. Look for him to stay committed up top.
Yeah, definitely. We saw that kind of work last night. That high line seemed to be able to carry a lot more speed, but they kept bouncing between the high line and low line. So we had several lead changes. Richard Springer could drive that car anywhere. He was up high, he was down low, and he led the most laps last night, and it looks like he's going to try and continue that tonight.
Yeah, momentum breeds momentum, and that's exactly what Richard Springer has working for him right now. The other thing, he's got Taylor Butcher Benjamin clearly committed, staying with him on the bottom, as those two cars are hooked up. Look like they are welded together, as once again, Thomas Harmon and JP on the top line surge out on the straightaways, but it looks like that bottom line prevails, in the speed department as they go through the corners, and allows them to pull back even, as once again at the start-finish line, we're going to have to leave it up to timing and scoring, as I believe the 68 took that lap at the line.
Yeah, it looks like Harmon was able to hang on there. Got a couple checking in on the chat. Bossman Jonathan Leach there. And Autumn Jones cheering for Vanderplatz. Vanderplatz kind of hanging out towards the back. Not too bad, but doesn't really have the draft, and is almost by himself.
Yeah, CVP Chris Vanderplatz, definitely no slouch, knows how to get around Daytona, has a great following as well, as we see them fans in the chat voicing for CVP out there on the racetrack. But you're right, Mike, too far back right now. He's going to have some work to do if he wants to get up here at this lead pack, as the 21 of Richard Springer gets sprung here early in Daytona, as we're in a full barn burner mode right now, as there's still 2 lanes side by side fighting up here at Daytona. is now that bottom line looks like it's starting to prevail as far as the amount of cars that they have. Is the 68 of Harmon now falling back just a little bit as you see him try to utilize that side draft now to pull back even with the 21.
Yeah, definitely. You want to try and get down there and at least try and take some of that momentum away from that inside lane, because that inside lane, those top 3 cars looks like they have hooked up, and if you're kind of watching from, I'll call it behind them or in front of them, you can see that they're not having a lot of what I call the accordion effect, where if one car starts to slide up just a little bit, the next one slides up, and you kind of go back and forth. They're pretty well all set in one spot and just going through the corners, which is hard to do here on these bumpy turns of Daytona.
Yeah, you're right. These turns are anything but flat and smooth. It is like riding a wooden roller coaster out there. I can vouch for it from last night. In that 18 car, he got really loose there on the bottom of Marcus Chaffin. Luckily there was an opening up top. He was able to take it to the high side, because if there was another car right there on that racetrack, that could have been the first incident of the day. That's something you really have to pay attention to, especially as the tires and the fuel start to wear off in this race.
Yeah, Richard Springer is now going to have company to his outside, and Taylor Butcher Benjamin jumps up in front of Thomas Harmon, and he's going to lead that lap. We'll see if he's going to stay up there or try and jump down in front of Springer. Looks like he's staying up top for the moment here.
Yeah, I would not anticipate somebody bailing on currently a battle buddy out there on the racetrack, as you definitely need help and support to get a W. The last thing you want to do early is show another driver that you have no problem changing lanes after they helped you get position on the racetrack. I mean, the 68 and the 8, just how you see them right now, right at the top side of the racetrack, Mike, they fought for so many wins last season down to the line, which really made up how dynamic the season was last year. I don't anticipate them making a drastic lane change here, especially early on. Look for these guys to continue to work together. JP included in that conversation, who runs just in back of Harmon, getting the push there from the 18.
Yeah, looking back from the 8 there to the 68, and you can just see how close they get there, right on that bumper. Give them a little bump draft there.
Yeah, literally, you can see them making contact as we went on board, looking back at the 68 from Taylor Butcher Benjamin's car. They are making contact on that racetrack at over 190 miles an hour, which is something at times you don't want to do in this race car, because the front of that nose can act like a jack and pick those rear tires right off the ground if you're not lucky.
Yeah, they definitely can. And one thing for at least Jacob Gladulich here is he's the fastest car on track right now. He just ran a 45:21 that last lap. So
yeah, that is absolutely flying, Mike. And we seen that last night. Cars in the back of the pack that are just hanging back a little bit can really utilize that draft and get some insane runs. Oh, get skinny up there. The 25 got a little loose on the bottom, came up a little bit, was able to keep it off of the 68 of Harmon, and that's going to continue to increase as now we're working lap 12. And we've seen that a lot last night too, Mike. Once these tires get some wear on them, that fuel wears off in the back. It's really easy for these cars going through those bumps, especially in 1 and 2, to slide up the racetrack and come off the bottom.
yeah, we were talking about it last night quite a bit, as it looks like Blake Henderson jumps out and is going to kind of fade back a little bit.
3 wide. Ooh,
Bryce Bower there.
Yeah, you're right. Bryce there certainly had his hands full as 2 cars got shot below that yellow line, and that opened up a little bit additional real estate, which forced a 3 wide moment there. But these boys, they know what they're doing. Quickly get it back sorted to a two lane configuration here, as you still have that top line doing everything they can to try and prevail with limited help, as the remainder of the field all right now locked to the bottom. You still see the 68 of Harmon and the 8 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Oh, Harmon goes way down off the racing surface there. He's got to be very careful. Hopefully he can get back in line before he goes into this turn. Does a great job of lifting, coming back up onto the racing surface. It's just that easy, Mike. One little push gone wrong, and you're off onto the flats, and your life suddenly turns miserable there for a couple seconds as you're cringing, hoping you can get back up in traffic without losing that draft.
Yeah, definitely. If anybody knows anything about that, that is Jacob Gladulus. He went through it last night, went right through the infield, kept it going, but he wound up losing that draft and lost a lap. Got it back late in the race, but ooh, panned off into the wall.
Oh, and he hammers the 18 of Marcus Chaffin. How are they able to keep it straight? That is incredible. What a save, Mike.
Let's see if we can go back and take a look here. So panned off into the wall. The 18 goes down to avoid him. And Pandoff they hit pretty square though. 14 was able to stay off, but they just keep going here. That is amazing.
Yeah, you're right. I think the saving grace there was the flush contact there from the 74 James Pandolf as he accidentally pancakes him. All that energy, when you make that contact with the wall, it's going to force the car down the racetrack. I thought it was going to be game over, but these drivers prove us wrong once again and able to keep it green through 15 laps now of competition here from the high banks of Daytona. Everyone chasing Taylor Butcher Benjamin, who continues to carry the torch.
Yeah, Butcher Benjamin was able to get out front and avoid the couple little incidents there, and a couple other drivers had trouble. So we'll see how as long as he can stay up there. But it looks like Richard Springer jumped to that high side and is going to try and get that second line going once again.
Yeah, it's going to have some help there from Bryce Boyer. The 21 was very committed to the bottom here throughout the first 14 laps or so. Now he takes it up top side, and now he's getting ready to pull alongside Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Oh, as the 22 almost makes contact with Springer. These cars really starting to bumper and jostle around now through 16 laps. These guys are going to have to start paying attention as they still have a long ways to go in this one. Going to 100 laps, the scheduled distance as Springer sprung back to the lead with the help of the 5 of Bryce Boyer.
Yeah, and Springer goes right down to that inside line once again, get in front of Butcher Benjamin. So basically the same way that inside row started is where they're at right now. Springer was able to work that high and low line to perfection to get his car right back out front.
Yeah, you're not wrong at all, Mike. I mean, the way this field is currently running right now, almost a replica of how we started the race. The biggest difference, Bryce Boyer up 11 spots from where he started, currently owns that number 2 position. However, he is not the biggest mover of the race, as him and Blake Henderson in the 25 are tied.
Yeah, Blake Henderson didn't get a qualifying run, started at the back and worked his way up here into third position. Probably going to be almost second here as he's getting close to passing Springer as they do. And then you have Marcus Chaffin there, third in the line in that high side. Chaffin also probably has a little bit of damage to that right side of that car.
Yeah, Chaffin in the 18, and I believe looking at some of the different angles here, the camera angles we have here, Mike, there's certainly some damage on the right side of that 18. Probably doesn't want to be out in the lead right now, as that would really magnify the damage on his race car, but being tucked in where he is right now, kind of in the sandwich, as Tony Trapasso would say, that's probably really going to help mitigate that and keep the performance relevant on the race cars. JP now making a big move. He had a heck of a run, charges down to the inside, and he's going to be all over the back of the 22 of Musil here in no time as they coming into the 3 and 4 complex. What a move by JP.
Definitely. You see them get a little bit on that apron, which we kind of talked about it last night when we were watching the race. If you get 1 or 2 tires below there and you go into the corner and then you hit those bumps, it can shoot you clear up the racetrack. we were talking about what line you'd rather have going into the corner. It looks like the high line is a lot smoother through the corner, which is why they seem to carry a little bit more speed, but
whoa,
it's rough there.
No, it certainly is rough, and it can really upset the balance of that race car, especially having that solid rear axle, Mike. When you get down to the flat, 2 tires on the flat and 2 tires on the banking, you're lucky if all it does is shoot the car up the racetrack, as that is usually a perfect recipe for a wreck. These guys are really getting racy now up front. Look how tight Springer is up against the 5, the 21, the 25 and the 8 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin. They're doing the crazy train snake right now as they are still side by side. These guys are not backing off one bit, racing like it's 5 to go.
Yeah, these guys are definitely trying to move here. If I'm judging by last night for tonight as far as fuel mileage goes, I think you're looking at somewhere around 41 laps or so, if I'm not mistaken. So we got a little ways to make it to that first pit stop, but it also throws in strategy if you think it's going to go green.
Well, you bring up a great point there, Mike. The person in Daytona right now getting the worst fuel mileage, the man that's initially making that hole punch through the air, and that's going to be shared between the 21 of Springer and then the 5 of Bryce Boyer. Who's getting the best fuel mileage? Well, that could potentially be the 14 of the Drift King, Jacob Gladulith, and others, running a little bit further on back, staying hooked up into the draft, but not in the line or a tandem per se. Those guys back there could potentially get 44 to 45 laps on fuel, like I was able to do last night with James Pandolf, where Richard Springer, if you remember, who led most of this race, had to pit a couple laps sooner because he was out there leading over the course of that entire fuel run, and that almost cost him the race because we had so few cautions. Oh, as the 25 gets sideways, Blake Henderson, what a save!
Sliding around, so these cars are definitely getting a little squirrely here. Everybody was able to avoid catastrophe there, but it does leave a little bit of a gap between that front 3 and the rest of the field there, but it looks like they're going to try and get single file and get everybody hooked back up once again.
Yeah, that Code Brown moment really destroyed the formation of that top line, but look at the 5 of Boyer continuing to stay true to that top side as he's doing a great job of side drafting Taylor Butcher Benjamin, as he's basically holding that position by himself with no help out there right now. That is incredible.
Yeah, if you can get close enough and you trust the other driver, especially going through these corners, you can side draft and stay right with him as he gets thrown up the track just a little bit there. But it looks like that the 19 of David Anderson jumps out to help him up there.
Yeah, talking about deploying the save, I got you, buddy. Henderson comes down the top side to the rescue for the 5, but it looks like now he's going to come back down to the bottom, and now that's going to leave a couple other cars hang out to dry on that top side line. Looks like the 18 of Chaffin, one of the cars running the back up there. And as soon as I say that, there they go back to the top side again, Mike.
Yeah, I was watching the same thing. They were trying to almost look like they were getting left out to dry there, but he jumped back out there and he's right behind Boyer there. You got Blake Henderson and Marcus Chaffin round out that top 4 in that high lane, where you got Springer, Butcher Benjamin, Musial, and Pandolf down low.
Yeah, Pandolf down low continues to be silent as far as the commotion goes on the racetrack, but he is right there in competition. And as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, JP was in position to win all 3 of these plate races last year. Unfortunately, Lady Luck not on his side, and he did not finish inside the top 10, I believe, at the start-finish line on the final lap. But look for him to right the wrong here this season. He is definitely a favorite to win here tonight from the high banks of Daytona. But Richard Springer continues to dominate out here early, just like he did last night. He's got the right help. Taylor Butcher Benjamin, the 22 of Dustin Musil, and Pandolf making up the bottom line right now. Some very fast cars all working together, and you're seeing that pay off for them right now.
Yeah, it definitely is. These guys, well, it's their second season. They've worked together before, and it looks like they have not missed a beat with the couple off weeks they had here.
No, they haven't, and I can guarantee you they were probably out there running private practice sessions as well, as they often do in this series. Oh, watch out, the 5 there almost clipped the 8. I don't know how they didn't make contact, because that's going to force a 3 wide now. The 5, Bryce Boyer, being stuck in the sucker hole. Here comes Pandolf. These guys do such a great job of getting this situation sorted out, Mike. That's one of the things about the series that I love. Every time it is screaming, hit the panic button, they somehow find a way to get it sorted and keep it green on the racetrack.
Yeah, it definitely did that time. Looked like the 19 there of David Anderson might have given Bryce Boyer there push at an ill-advised time, but he was able to pull down inside Butcher Benjamin, and yes, they were 3 wide, but not for very long, as Butcher Benjamin was able to go to the high side, and he went clear around him and down to that inside lane and hooks up behind Pandolf now.
Yeah, talk about a game of chairs over 195 miles an hour. That's virtually what just happened out there on the racetrack. Is now the 22 is now leading the charge with the 21 of Richard Springer, who continues to lead out here in spite of all the action going on just in back of the 21 car.
Yeah, and looking at these lap times compared to last night, these cars are almost a second faster, driving 10 to 12 miles an hour faster around this track as well.
Yeah, like I'm seeing that now, and I guess, well, that was the question mark we had. With the same RPM limiter on the car as the NW09 ARCA car, were we going to see similar speeds? The answer is no. This Gen 4 car, as you just said, about a full second faster a lap. So that might actually hurt the fuel mileage a little bit. They may have to come in sooner than later.
Yeah, and we were talking about it last night. Not so much this first pit stop. First pit stop isn't really going to matter. I mean, everybody's probably going to come in if you're the leader when you come in. But Richard Springer, we were talking about it last night. We're like, well, he's up there. He's punching that hole. He's using all his fuel. And, like, no sooner did we say that, he kind of backed up and went towards the back. But he still wound up pitting by himself. We thought he was going to back up and pit when a couple other cars pitted. So he still had, a few friends with him. But because that is what it's going to take to win this race. You got to have friends when you pit.
That's exactly right. You come down pit road by yourself, you're a sitting duck. And when you mentioned Springer all of a sudden on cue, as you were talking about during the broadcast last night, Mike, he went to the back and he came over the radio, and that was the play from the 21. Said, guys, I'm going to run out.
The 5.
Big spin! The 74 of Pandolf in the wall. Disaster strikes that man again. I cannot believe it. Is caution out on the racetrack. Lap 31, the bomb goes off.
Go back here just a little ways. Let's jump on the nose here of Bryce Boyer here.
Oh, I'm heartbroken.
Right
Just
in.
Right where you don't want to bump draft, Mike.
Right in that corner.
Oh, when the car is just loaded up, and around goes Pandolf, and he gets absolutely massacred by the 25
Blake Henderson.
of Blake Henderson, as you just said. And once again, it looks like another Daytona victory. Maybe not possible now for the 74 of Pandolf, as he's the first one really to get pounded out there on the racetrack, as we're under the first caution of the day.
So everybody's coming to pit lane.
Everyone. It's going to be wholesale pit stops, as you like to say on pit road.
see how much
I wonder
time.
if some of these guys take 2 tires here, but but the amount of time it takes to get this fuel cell full of Sunoco racing fuel, you might as well just take 4, right?
Oh, there's this lap I'm taking 4. The next
For
one,
sure.
we'll kind of see where it's going, because right now we go back green at what, 35. We got 65 laps left. We're thinking say 45 of fuel, so that still leaves about what, 20 laps. So that second pit stop, you might have to try something a little different, as Springer overshoots his pit stall, so he'll spend a little extra time in there.
And that might cost him the lead, as he had to back that car up. All 4 wheels of that race car have to be in the box before that crew can go to service. Is Taylor Butcher Benjamin's going to beat him off pit road. TBB with a great pit stop is going to get the lead in the pits.
Yeah, Springer was still off second, so no real harm there. But his pit lane time, if that was a green flag pit stop, would have been almost deadly there, as he's 3 seconds off of Taylor Butcher Benjamin's pace there.
Yeah, well said there, Mike. The biggest disaster so far on the racetrack has to be for the 74 of James Pandolf. I don't know how much damage he accrued there on that caution, as he got absolutely drilled by Blake Henderson. I guess we'll find out here as these cars come back up to speed. But my gut instinct tells me the hopes and dreams of a win here this season at Daytona for Pandolf may be over, as he was a part of the first incident here that brung out our first caution and put us where we are right now through 33 laps of competition.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, that a lot of leagues we broadcast, they have those resets or fast repairs, and they do not have those here. So
yeah, it's a great point, Mike. You do not have the luxury of a mulligan or a fast repair in this series, and I think that's part of the reason why you see so much great green flag action here, because the drivers have to respect that fact that if they make a mistake, there's no redo reset button. You have to treat this as if it was a race in real life, and to do that and be successful, you got to keep all corners on this race car nice and square, nice and even, nice and clean, I should say.
definitely. So Blake Henderson was in his pit stall, got almost 2 minutes of repairs fixed, was able to get out in front of the pace car, so he will not be a lap down, which is basically a good thing for Pandolf, because that means he's the only car a lap down. So if he can get out here and get caught up to the field, he'll only be a lap down. If there's another caution, he can get right back on the lead lap and be good to go. But it looks like he's going to spend some more extended time in that pit box.
Yeah, and that makes sense, certainly with the impact that we've seen him take out there in the 3 and 4 complex, that damage that was, that was given to that 74 ride of James Pandolf. But the other part of that, Mike, is you mentioned if or when we get another caution. The big question is if. I mean, last night cautions were far few and in between, and we know that these guys just love to run it, these long green flag runs. This is what this series is famous for. Pandolf may not be given the opportunity.
Definitely. I mean, last night we saw 2 cautions, one at lap 8 and one at lap like 96. So few and far between are right.
Yeah, just as myself and Pandolf were working together, going for the lead, that's when the second caution broke out late. And we had a little bit of a miscue under caution there, and I got some incidental contact. Is well under caution, ready to go back green here. That pace car is going to pull back off Taylor Butcher Benjamin. He's going to have the button alongside of Richard Springer. Back into the Geico restart zone, and we're back green from Daytona as these cars are screaming back up through the gearboxes one more time. It's a drag race between Springer and Benjamin as they come up into the turn 1 complex.
Ooh, Gradulus got into the back of Springer, tried to check up so he didn't run him over. Kind of cost a few drivers some spots there. But the other thing on that restart, there were only 3 cars that were allowed to be in that outside lane, as everybody else had made, looks like, multiple pit stops almost.
Yeah, they had a very strange formation coming back to the green there, Mike. You bring up a good point there. Back under green, nonetheless, we are. Taylor Butcher Benjamin now has command, but the 19 of David Anderson has something to say about it, as he has a ton of help now from the 18 of Marcus Chaffin, and they're really putting the strain on the 21 and the 8 right now, who are currently leading on the inside, as they're now about to pull even on the top side of the racetrack. Big bobble from the 19. He's able to keep it straight. That's going to cost him some momentum, though, as they have to gather it back up. And just like that, there goes Springer and Benjamin back to the point.
Yeah, Springer and Benjamin are hooked up, and they are basically trying to drive away from the field here. Chris Vanderplaat's up to 4th now, as Chaffin and Anderson almost get into that outside wall. Their cars are not where they want them to be. You see Anderson bouncing all over the place there. Goes down to the inside, almost hits Vanderplaat's. Whew.
Yeah, what a good should have, but still no contact. But it's, I mean, these guys, what they do, Mike. I mean, they'll give you sometimes they'll put you in an early grave, especially at a racetrack like this. But the cautions flags just don't seem to fly very often. Is now literally the 19 of Anderson hung out to dry, is everyone else now hooked up and ripping the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, everybody is. Pandolf back on track, spent over 5 minutes in his pit box getting that 74 machine hooked back up. He's going to lose another lap here, so he's going to be about 3 laps down. But we'll see if he's gonna jump down to the inside and hang on here.
Yeah, the heartbreak continues for Pandolf, as he's now being shown 4 laps off the pace. The only car multiple laps down is the other 15 competitors, all on the lead lap. First car off the pace, it's Pandolf, and it's a big hole he's going to have to try and dig himself out of, as he's 4 laps down.
Yeah, he's going to stay out here and log laps and hope for somebody else to have some catastrophe, because that's the only way he's going to get back here on the lead lap or improve his position at all.
Yeah, it's going to take someone else's misfortune. Well said there, Mike.
Vanderplaat's kind of got out of line, let those front 2 get away. But Vanderplaat's and Brobery were working together. They were about a half lap down before that caution came out, and here they are up 3rd and 4th, up 4 positions from where they started. Marcus Chaffin back there as well, up 11 spots. Side by side is Pandolf and Matt Burgess. The 22 of Dustin Musil was trying to stay up there with Pandolf to kind of see if he could get a little bit of a run, and he jumps back out there again, gets loose as he can be, but stays off the wall, and we are still cruising along here on lap 40. And as we are green flag racing, we're going to step aside here, take our first break of the day. We'll be back momentarily. Once again, this is the Dynasty Racing League Cup Series on Sim Racing Media. And we are back once again as Pandolf. Yes, he's laps down, but he is leading this field, so it is going to be even more heartbreak for him.
Yeah, just the heartbreak continues to mount for James Pandolf as he's going to get ready to go another lap down here as Taylor Butcher Benjamin and company now shoots to the outside, but Richard Springer's going to pick him up here. Perhaps they're going to go ahead and lend out a life raft to the 74 and keep him in tow in the draft right now. That would really help stop the bleeding out of the 74 camp as the 84 getting some help from the 20, or the 8 getting help from the 22. As Benjamin continues to lead here under Daytona. I almost said under the lights as I feel like it should be a night race, but in sim time, we're here dead smack in the afternoon.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh, it'll start to cool down, but it's noon in sim time, but it is a wonderful Saturday night here for the Dynasty Racing League. As that outside lane jumps down to the inside, leaves Marcus Chaffin out there all by himself. And looks like Springer might have been second-guessing his decision to stay behind Pandolf as he is now back in fourth.
Yeah, once again, the lone man on the outside line continues to be that 18. You want to talk about dedication to working the high side of the racetrack. Marcus Chaffin has to be the winner of that award so far right now.
Yeah, he definitely does. And as we're kind of looking back through the field, it looks like everybody's pretty much single file except for Chaffin there. I mean, even when you go back halfway through the field or so, everybody's staying down on that low line, not really moving too much.
Yeah, that low line right now is starting to get spaced out a little bit. Perhaps that caution reinvigorated in these drivers that, hey, we still have a long way to go here as they decide to get things settled down just a little bit. Taylor Butcher Benjamin shoots out of a cannon with some help from the 22 of Musil. They are by far out in front of the pack, the furthest we've seen over the course of the entire afternoon. Is Taylor Butcher Benjamin slicing and dicing here from Daytona. The 18, though, holding strong by himself on the top side, making great use of that side draft as he is coming by himself.
He's been out there. He's working that high line. I'm going to say he probably will have the freshest tires once it kind of gets worked out as the 19 gets into him. The 19 of David Anderson kind of side checks him there, and that sends Pandolf and Springer up to the high line to try and get around him.
Another one that should have sparked disaster. That almost lit the fuse there, Mike, and once again these boys somehow find a way to corral it up. But
Yeah,
they're on the racetrack again for the 74.
I mean, the 18 of Marcus Chaffin there has got to be thinking, what did I do to these guys? He's got check to the left, check to the right, but he's still able to keep that car straight, and he's battling up front, sitting in third, basically by himself in that high line until Springer's going to probably try and catch him and help push him towards the front here.
Yeah, the best thing right now that the 18 of Chaffin sees right now is in his rearview mirror from Richard Springer, who we know has a bad, fast race car out here at Daytona. As he's led a majority of the race, he's going to pick up Chaffin now. As him and Springer now going to try to go to work and overtake Taylor Butcher Benjamin, working with Musil on the bottom.
Yeah, definitely, as you see. Oh, Chaffin goes almost clear to the wall. Wow. But he's going to dive down in front of Butcher Benjamin and leave Springer out to dry now.
As Springer springs the 18 of Chaffin to the lead, he bails on his battle buddy, and Taylor Butcher Benjamin comes up and says, hold on, I got you. And he picks up the 21 of Richard Springer. Incredible racing at the point.
Well, as soon as that 18 dived down in front of Butcher Benjamin, you almost knew that he was going to pull out and get right in front of his good buddy there in Richard Springer. as they've been working together the majority of this race. Butcher Benjamin, whoa, the 19.
Pancakes the outside wall there, and he is going to spin. That should bring out a caution flag as he is now deep in the infield abyss. Caution number 2 on the day, lap 51. Looked like he squirted out of a hot dog bun. I wonder what did it. We're about to find out here.
Yeah, let's go back here a little ways. Jump on board. Here we go. Well, it looks like he got on the apron and got loose, and then Vanderplatz just kind of barely touched him. Doesn't look like much of anything, really. He clips that inside wall with the left rear quarter, but man. You see him just get loose down on the apron. Might have got barely tapped and sent through there.
It just clips a piece of that concrete wall there. There is no safer barrier fixated to that piece of concrete that the 19 caught as he went for a ride through the infield. As now David Anderson finds himself mired back in 14th.
And once again, we're probably going to have wholesale pit stops.
Yeah, wholesale pit stops. Now, this is really going to make it interesting. Lap 52, they're going to all probably come down pit road here, pack that fuel cell full of Sunoco Racing fuel. And I believe James Pandolf and I were in a similar situation last night where we were actually going to be able to make it on fuel. However, with that late race caution, obviously we came back down and topped it up. But if you work the draft right, you may be able to go the distance here. But the other question I have is with that additional speed, that additional momentum that these cars have over the ARCA car from last night, are they going to be able to have the same fuel mileage? Yes or no? I guess we're going to find out the answer to that question, Mike, as these last 47 laps unfold here, right here from Daytona.
Yeah, definitely. And as you were talking there, we saw the first 4 in their pit box drive through. It was like one went, and then everybody just kind of judged their pit box off of the one in front, and everybody had to back up. So
yeah, monkey see, monkey do, just about.
Yep, but they all took 4 tires and fuel. Butcher Benjamin out front, Springer in second, Robbery in third, with Harmon back and forth.
Yeah, top 5. In fifth is going to be the 12 of Matt Burgess, up 7 positions. 6th belongs to Jacob Gladlich, a.k.a. Drift King. 7th, AC, Mr. Cool, Austin Collins. 8th, runner-up finisher from last night, the 29 of P.J. O'Leary. 9th, Sam Niederhelm in the 66, and rounding out your top 10 as they run right now, the 18 of Marcus Chaffin, as they get ready to rack him and stack him to go back green one more time here from Daytona.
Looks like Pandolf is going to stay out and try and get the wave around. He'll get one of his laps back, maybe. As everybody's coming back down pit road again.
Well, if you have some damage on your race car, might as well take advantage of the situation and try to get everything fixed up. Is JP the lone car on the field right now who is not down on pit lane? Right now, he's currently being scored 3 laps off the pace. So indeed, he's going to get one of those laps back. Does Lady Luck continue to help the 74? Or do we run green from here? You're going to have to stick around right here on SRM. You got it tuned into the right YouTube channel. Now join the best broadcasting company in the business that has 7 days of high-flying racing action. Become part of the family. You know you want to already. Best way to do that, smash the like button, ring the bell. And if you have friends and family as well that love this type of racing action, hey, phone a friend, let them know. SRM is live right now with some Gen 4 action. The more, the better, as these drivers often drive their tails off, the more people that are rooting for them in that live chat.
Definitely. And as we're sitting there, the lights are out on the pace car. Everybody came down pit lane in a closed pit to top off on fuel. That's what they were doing. They made sure they got it completely full for as many laps as they can. So everybody basically has to have a single file restart because they all got the penalty for entering a closed pit.
Yeah, that just tells you how important having a full tank of fuel is right now. That basically carries a higher premium than the penalty they took from going down a closed pit road.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw it last night. I mean, if these guys get hooked up and go green to the end, you're gonna want to have as much fuel as you can.
And judging by the way everyone came back down pit road a second time, that could be a little bit of a consensus there that they can make it from here if we do stay green. As Taylor Butcher Benjamin is going to take him back to green.
Oh my gosh.
Behind him. What in the world happened? Are we going to go green here? No, caution. Nope. Back out on the racetrack.
Caution just came out.
A rare mistake is someone either jumped on the binders. I don't know what in the world happened there.
I don't know what happened. It didn't really show anything on my end. Oh.
And JP again. Oh my goodness. No. Is the 0-1 car got sent up in the air. I'm going to go ahead, back this up. Watch what the 25 does here. Just mistimes. I think the 25 just retimes the restart, Mike.
That's what it looks like. I was going to try and get a good camera angle here, but Chopper's probably the best one there. So everybody just kind of checks up, and the 25 tries to check up and just tries to turn out of the way. JP tries to get out of the way and runs right into the driver door of Vanderplat's there.
Yeah, the rear axle of that 01 singular wireless Dodge gets set up in the air, and James Pandolf nowhere to go as he makes contact. A very rare miscue here on a very pivotal restart as caution is thrown back out, restart negated. We're going to have to re-rack him, restack him, and do this all again, Mike.
Definitely. We'll have to see what happens with the way that restart happened.
Yeah, and you know from experience, Mike, when you go back to green off a caution and everyone doesn't make it past the start-finish line before the caution comes back out, that can give iRacing fits as far as getting the field reset.
Yeah, on a race I had on Thursday, it definitely did that. Wound up having a huge, I'll call it a glitch, but there wound up only being 2 cars on the lead lap after that.
Yeah, that was my fear, a massive debacle that's going to have to be resorted. As you see a slew of cars coming off of pit road once again from a rare miscue on a restart here at Daytona. "56 laps in the books. TBB continues to lead here. Richard Springer second. Thomas the Hammer Harmon in third, and Austin Collins in fourth. Probably the 4 biggest names that you need to watch in the series over the course of this season, and they are literally nose to tail right now. It looks like the 19 was given a penalty there for that restart. He's going to get an EOL. That's going to put him to the back of the pack. I didn't see that one coming, Mike, I'll be honest.
Yeah, that is not something that I saw in the cards here at all, but that does help the fuel mileage for Butcher Benjamin and Springer there.
Yeah, especially really Taylor Butcher Benjamin, as he's the one out there carrying the torch, and you pay a premium for that, as you're the first one punching the hole through the air, as you said earlier. So no one probably wanted to see this except for the aid of TBB.
Looks like we'll see if anybody... Okay. I don't know. Everybody's coming down pit lane again. Except for the top 3, it looks like now.
Well, it's a Sunoco frenzy. Clearly want to keep those juice boxes full to the brim in those race cars. Those lights are out on the pace car, and only 3 cars are formed up behind it. Here comes the rest of the cavalry.
We'll go 2 by 2, it looks like, maybe? Well, usually before you get if you get another caution before you complete a lap, iRacing will make you do the single file restart, but these guys are stacked up, looking like they're going to be ready to go here once they get through this backstretch.
As they go down the backstretch, getting ready to go into the 3-4 complex, you can see the rest of the field absolutely flying to catch the 4 cars that are formed up here at the point behind that iRacing Ford Mustang. There's the 68 of Taylor. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Thomas Harmon. My goodness. Taylor Butcher Benjamin's the leader. And he's going to be sharing the front row with the 21 of Richard Springer. Going to have some really good help here on the inside. The DK, as well as the 12 of Matt Burgess.
Pace car is in. Butcher Benjamin with the button, and we are back to green flag racing. Looks like he's not quite going to be able to clear Springer. The Springer and Henderson stuck on the outside all by themselves. Jacob Gladulus down on the inside. Looks like they're kind of getting a little squirrely there.
Yeah, big time squirrely coming up through the gearbox. Only 2 cars on the top side of the racetrack, the 21 and the 25 of Springer and Henderson. And look at these guys flaring out now about mid-pack back, coming up the speed here. The 18, you would expect him to be going towards the top of the racetrack. The 22 as well of Dustin Musil, he's up there, but now he's going to come back down perhaps. Leaves the 18 hung out to dry, but that 18 may have a good run coming. He may be able to drive it all the way up to the back of the 25 of Henderson. And it looks like he just might do it.
It looks like he's got... I'm going to say, it looks like he's got that draft, so he should be able to suck up to him. So we are...
That's the one... Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, go ahead. You're good.
He said that's the one thing that's the silver lining about hiding out in the back is looks like you get a nitrous button. You can get some insane runs from back there as the 18 was easily, looked like he was hung out to dry, but had that great run, was able to take it all the way to the house and catch the tail end of the top line there and hook up with the 25 of Blake Henderson.
Yeah, you see these guys kind of bouncing around a little bit more. Gladulus leading that outside lane, leading the race as well. He was able to pull out in front of Springer, and Springer has just been a pushing machine, it looks like, lately, as he's got that outside line moving towards the front again.
Yeah, if Springer's not leading, if he's anywhere but first, he is a push machine. And you better hold on to the wheel and hold it straight. Because if not, Richard Springer will just put you to no man's land as you're spinning off the nose of that 21 car. But you're right, Mike. No one pushes at these plate tracks like Richard Springer in the 21. He definitely has it down to his science. Oh, look at that. There's trouble. You got the 8 and the 68 hooked up. Those two. Mike, I don't know if you've caught any of these races from last season, but they had so many storybook, historic endings last year. And just seeing them hooked up at the bottom, that brings back so many memories from last season. You got two bad fast race cars hooked up on the bottom and two at the top sideline at the point. As they still continue to almost be door-to-door, side-by-side, as it's a John Force special between the 8 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin and the 14 of DK.
As they start, I don't know if I'd want to be behind these guys, because you see them start bouncing around just a little bit, and at these speeds, one little bump, as you see there, as Vanderplatz goes sliding through almost the infield, able to get it under control, but one bad bump, and it sends you flying through the field.
Yeah, that's literally what it takes. One bad bump, and it can light off a catastrophe if it happens towards the front, where it takes out this whole pack of race cars. And that was part of the reason why I was riding at the back so much last night. The other part was I missed it on the steering ratio. But at times, I mean, I didn't want anywhere to be a part of it because they were barely, coats of paint away from making contact like we're seeing right now. But in spite of all that, we continue to stay green, and Taylor Butcher Benjamin continues to lead with the help of Thomas Harmon on that bottom shelf.
Yeah, Harmon, Springer, Benjamin, they've all been hanging around up here, up towards the front. Gladulus was back 4th, 5th, and now he's leading that outside lane. We know he has a pretty fast car. He showed it last night, and he's showing it here as well.
Yeah, he certainly is showing it here as well again tonight. Look at the push he's getting from Richard Springer. You see the 14 getting a little squirrely there as the 21 was fully connected to the back of that 14 Burger King paint job reminiscent on that 14 car out there. Continually sits, who right now sits in 3rd, as the field's being led right now by the 8 and the 68 of Harmon and Butcher Benjamin.
Yeah, you kind of slide back and forth depending on who gets the run, who's hooked up just at that right position there. But that inside lane, you're kind of looking at it now. Those first 4 or 5 cars aren't really moving too much, so they're going to carry more speed coming into this corner than that outside lane that's kind of not quite squared up.
If you choose the bump draft, and I say choose because it's a gamble anytime you decide to do so, but like you said, Mike, if you do decide to go ahead and use the bumper, you better have it square on the back of the car in front of you, a little off to the right or the left, and you're going to be hanging on for the ride. It's almost a guarantee. Still 2 by 2 from 3rd place on back is the 12 and the 14. Those are the first 2 cars side by side out there on the racetrack. Taylor Butcher Benjamin, Thomas Harmon. Well, now they're pretty much not in the clear anymore, as the 14 gets a great push for the 21 on the top shelf. He's going to pull alongside of Thomas the Hammer Harmon. The only car single file right now was the 8, but that 21 continues to bring the speed, the momentum. Is now Jacob Drift King Glodulus pulls side by side with the leader. The 8 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Is Springer going to push him all the way to the front? No, the bottom surges on the bottom once again. As a 25 comes up and touches the wall ever so slightly. And I'm telling you, Mike, when they're formed up side by side like that, it seems like on the straightaway, the advantage goes to the top shelf. But in the corners, the advantage is then returned back to the bottom. And as a result, you're right back where you left off, it seems.
Yeah, it definitely looks that way. It's almost like the bottom line through the corner can hold it more steady but that top line just carries more speed coming out of corner exit. So that's kind of where it goes back and forth. Like I said, you'll see these lines go back and forth, just battling, and especially since they're 2x2 through what, 5 rows now? I mean,
6 rows.
I mean, these guys are definitely putting on a show here. 67 laps into this race.
Yeah, these laps, starting to wind down. At some point in this race, that whole, that battle buddy, give and take philosophy is going to be crumbled up and thrown out the window. And we could be starting to see that now, Mike. As you can see, the aggression and the intensity starting to pick up on the racetrack as it's hot and heavy, 2x2, virtually 6 rows deep right now. That lap went to the 14 of Jacob Glodjulich, a.k.a. the Drift King, as he's now out in front. But once again, right on cue, here comes the inside line back to take over the top spot on the racetrack.
Definitely, we keep talking about that draft. Well, I'm going to switch back here to Sam Niederhelm and Chris Vanderplatz. They're about 10 seconds off of the lead group. And luckily for them, they're working together. Otherwise, they'd be back here with Bryce all by himself, going almost 50 seconds a lap. So Bryce is going 57. Sam's going 47.5, where the leader up here is going 45.8. So tons of speed you lose if you're not in this draft pack here.
It's almost like you're on another planet in the speed charts. This lead pack is running in the mid to high 45-second bracket. You mentioned Niederhelm and Vanderplatz, they're running the 47 bracket. And then if you're by yourself like Bryce Boyer, roughly a 50-second lap time out there. Oh, they're now 3 wide. The 21 does not want to be there. I promise you, Springer probably has a heart beating. Oh, there they go.
And that is the big one.
The big one pops, corks loose here at Daytona. Caution going to come back out on the racetrack. And I didn't even want to say it, Mike, but you could feel it coming. In the words of Phil Collins, in the air tonight, something was about to go down, and it certainly did for Richard Springer as he gets set 3 wide.
Here. Do a different camera angle. Mini Christmas here. All right, so Richard Springer, Marcus Chaffin side by side.
This over 190 miles an hour.
Oh, man.
The 18 comes up. He gets turned into the 21 there. They almost save it, but then the 18 is going to bounce off the 21. That's going to send them down the racetrack in front of traffic, and history is written from there.
Yeah, that is going to be the the end here of Springer. It looks like, as he got tons of damage.
James
and as it looks like he might have barely caught the back bumper of Richard Springer as he got spun around, but
well, one thing this caution flag is going to do, this is going to allow everyone to make the distance from here. Certainly have enough Sunoco racing fuel in their fuel cells now. Interesting, though, the leaders stayed out on the racetrack.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I'm like, Taylor,
what in the
Butcher
world?
Benjamin and Jacob Glodjulich both stay out. Benjamin last pitted on lap 53. There's a couple others that stayed out. Thomas Harmon, Matt Burgess, PJ O'Leary. They all pitted on lap 56. So Butcher Benjamin must just think he has the car to beat. I mean, he should have enough to go the distance, because we were thinking like 40 something green flag laps, and we've had 2 cautions since he pitted, so he should be good to go on distance. I mean, give or take.
Well, I guess that might answer the question then. Even though these cars are faster, would they see similar fuel mileage numbers to the ARCA cars from last night? And apparently so.
I mean, you'd have to think they're pretty close because we got, what, 29 laps left? So
yes, sir. 29 laps remaining.
It'll be close.
Well, I'll tell you what. The 8 of Butcher Benjamin definitely not afraid to roll it and gamble, go Las Vegas high stakes mode when it comes to fuel mileages. That was kind of his calling card last year. I'll tell you who really would love to see a win here, Mike, and that's going to be the 14 of Jacob Blajulich. Didn't have the best season last year, but right now he is virtually sitting in that catbird seat. Is he splitting the difference between Butcher Benjamin and Thomas the Hammer Harmon? That 14 would be ecstatic in victory lane if he was able to pull it off here tonight.
I mean, I get the idea of gambling, but also, I mean, you pretty much knew everybody was going to come to pit lane.
Right.
The worst case scenario, if a couple guys didn't, you'd be what, 3rd or 4th? You have the fastest car. I mean, maybe track position means more to him than that, but he's been, punching that hole for quite a few of those green flag laps, but he stayed out, so he must know exactly how much fuel he has. So we'll see what happens once we go back to green flag racing here.
Yeah, like I said, I trust the decision-making there by Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Is every time I questioned him last season, he proved me wrong. Lights are out on that pace car. Mike, it's like the calm before the storm. It's quiet, all is calm. But in the matter of seconds, that pace car is going to duck off the track, and those V8s are going to come roaring back to life. Is the hurricane getting ready to take shape here at Daytona one more time? Is this the final restart? Does this take us to the checkered flag? Or will more mayhem strike? You're going to have to stick right with us here on SRM to find out as we write the ending of the first race in the second season on SRM is the DRL Racing Series invades Daytona here on SRM.
Making their way out of turn 4 exit. One guy I talked to last night who really wants a win, especially running the 29, is PJ O'Leary. Wants to get that Kevin Harvick paint scheme into pit lane or into victory lane. So we'll see if he's able to do it. 3rd on that bottom row as we go back green flag racing. Taylor Butcher Benjamin down and away. Didn't quite get a push there that he probably was expecting, as he is still side by side with DK up high.
Did you see that thread the needle move about mid-pack? The 22 really just forced the issue there, getting down to the bottom. I have no idea how he cleared the 5 of Breuer. That was close.
I thought that a couple times last night when we were sitting here watching the race as well. These guys know every inch of these cars, it seems, as they are able to put them where you don't think they probably should go.
Yeah, well said, Mike.
Blajulich leads that lap. Butcher Benjamin battling back on that low line as the 22 jumps back down to the bottom side once again. Looks like he's trying to figure out where he wants to be. Start to fan out a little bit going down that backstretch. Vanderplat's almost in the middle. Looks like he might be trying to get a little bit of a run from both the high line and that low line, but just can't quite get enough speed to do anything with it at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're right. Trying to combo off the draft, the side draft, and that line draft. we're right back to where we left off, before that caution sequence. The 8 leading the bottom side. DK leading the top shelf for Mama Hides the Cookies. You got 3 strong cars formed up on the top. Well, here comes the 66 in Niederhelm. He's going to fill that void. So you're basically going to have a full train on the top. And on the bottom is a 25 trying to side draft off of Thomas Harmon in the 68. Now the 14 pulls ahead of Taylor Butcher Benjamin, but they stayed committed to run together on the high side of the racetrack. Is now here comes the bottom lane through the corner with the momentum. Taylor Butcher Benjamin back to the point as we charge once again towards that start-finish line.
Looks like Butcher Benjamin just barely was able to get back in front to lead that lap. But that top line with those 3 drivers are hooked up, and they are not letting each other bounce around hardly at all. That's Gladulus, Burgess, and Henderson there.
Yeah, and Henderson there. Mike, if this racetrack had a start-finish line positioned like it is at Talladega, further down towards turns 1 and 2, the top line may be the way to go. But where this is at Daytona, I mean, we're finding out it's a roll of the dice who's there each and every lap. Really making the decision choices even tougher for these drivers.
Yeah, as we get... Ooh, the 22 gets spun around, and we are under caution once again.
22 goes for a scare, goes for a ride. I don't think he makes any major contact as he pulls it back onto the racing surface.
Oh. Nope, that was too far ago. No, that was too far ago.
Bad push off the nose of the 0-1.
What in the world? Another one he got pushed off of the nose.
Just right off of the Singular Wireless Chevrolet there. And around goes the double deuce of Dustin Musil.
Man.
Caution once again flies here late at Daytona with 23 laps scheduled remaining to be written in the history books of Race 1, Season 2 here on SRM.
Definitely, and as these guys are under caution, we'll go ahead and step aside and let us all catch our breath for a little bit, and we'll be back once they go green. Welcome back to the Dynasty Racing League Cup Series. They are stacked up, ready to go back towards this green flag. Lights are out on the pace car. We should be getting all ready to go. Looks like Taylor Butcher Benjamin is up in the high lane. Jacob Gladulus down low. Those two guys have not pitted yet. Matt Burgess and Thomas Harmon are in row 2. They have not pitted as well. First car that has hit pit lane is Blake Henderson.
25. Boy, Chevrolet. Sorry about that, Mike. He's the first guy that came down and got fuel and tires. Everyone on back, we know, can definitely go the distance. The main question is those first 2 rows. The 14, the 8, the 12, and the 68. That's Harmon, Burgess, Benjamin, and DK. Can they make it the rest of the scheduled distance here? We get ready to go back to green flag action one more time here from Daytona.
Yeah, I think with all these caution laps, they're pretty sure they can make it. There'll be 20 laps to go once we go back to green flag racing. But if for some reason the top 2 can't, because they've been battling up front for quite a bit of the race, I think it might fall into Thomas Harmon's hands because he's been pushing most of the race. So I don't know that he's been really using too much of his fuel right now.
Mike, that's a great point. You know, Harmon seems like he's been very content sitting there right behind the 8, and that could be exactly why. As they're racked and restacked, ready to go back to that high-flying racing action as that pace car pulls off one more time. DK has the button. He's going to mash on the pedal, sit it through the floorboard, climb it up through the gearbox. The field comes one more time. 20 laps to go from this 2.5 oil mega super speedway complex here in Daytona. As he continues to lead, maybe a little too far out in front. Jacob Gladulus, is he a sitting duck when the 12 catches up to him? Does he stay in line or does he pull out to make a pass? There he goes. The 12's going to pull the hammer. Matt Burgess to the top side of the racetrack. He's got help from Taylor Butcher Benjamin as we have a drag race for the lead coming into the 3 and 4 complex.
And Blake Henderson elected to jump out there as well. So you got 3 cars hooked up on that high line and more help coming as Thomas Harmon left Butcher Benjamin out on the high line all by himself and dropped down behind DK. And now they are hooked up, ready to go again.
Yeah, Harmon bails on the 8. First big changeup we've seen with that pairing in a long time out there on the racetrack is now he finds a new dancing partner with Jacob Gladulus on the bottom side of the racetrack. And he is all over the back of the 14, pushing as hard as he can right now. Whoa, look at that massive lane change back and forth 2 or 3 times as the 5 of Bryce Boyer. He doesn't know where he wants to be.
Trying to get some speed in that 5. Man, that 19 right in the middle as well.
Man, Boyer is just literally slicing and dicing in that 5. I can't see that many lane changes. Oh no, Vanderplatz is in the sucker hole. 3 wide. Is he going to shoot the gap up the middle? He does. What a move.
Yeah, Vanderplatz had that run, got down inside Blake Henderson, and basically put Henderson out to dry and went right around him on the inside up to 3rd in that outside row. He is hooked up with Butcher Benjamin and Matt Burgess.
He took it 3 wide to make the pass on the 25. Incredible. You really got to have some nerves of steel to do that. I mean, I don't know if I'd have enough guts to make that move, Mike.
I don't know. With 18 laps to go, I don't know that I'd be trying to make that move anyway. But the drivers here know that the race is probably going to be going green, so they are trying to figure out where they want to be and get there as quick as possible.
Yeah, be where they want to be, and this is certainly the furthest we've seen up near the front of the field for CVP Chris Vanderplatz. We know he's got fans cheering him on in the broadcast. As you mentioned earlier, Mike, and he is right there tucked up behind the 8, as you just said. That outside line being led by Matt Burgess in the 12. Then it has the followers of the 8 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin and Chris Vanderplatz. On the bottom, you got DK, the 68 of Thomas Harmon, and there is Austin Collins, AC in the 1, Mr. Cool. Where did he come from?
He is moving up as quick as he can. And just for Pandolf's, I don't know, good deed of the day, I'll call it, he just ran the fastest lap of a 45.05.
Yeah, there's my buddy, James Pandolf. Hey, if you can't win the race, why not click off the fastest one around there? As he almost broke the 44-second bracket at a 45.05. That is, I think that's flirting with 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, he is 195 right now. So he is definitely getting closer and closer.
He's currently 190. He went over 200. 201 right now for Pandolf.
Wow, as a 19 is almost 3 wide there. Like he keeps trying to think about pushing it 3 wide.
He probably saw what Vanderplatz did and made it work. And it's the whole "you can do it, I can do it too" philosophy. Is there he is. He's coming up the middle. Sound the sirens. Here we go. Is he's going to get around the 05? I can't believe it.
These guys are bouncing all over the place. 19 out to the high side. Blake Henderson looked like he was going to get stuck in the middle. Looks like they're trying to figure out a way to get moving towards the front with 14 laps to go.
Mike, you better
Vanderplatz into the wall.
Oh, CVP, the 22 gets popped by Austin Collins. It's a sandwich up into the turn 3 and 4 wall as the big one uncorks its ugly face again, and James Pandolf eats metal one more time. As you felt the energy picking up out there on the racetrack, let's go back to the replay, Mike.
There you see Vanderplatz into the wall. The 22 starts sliding up, and the 01 there slides down a little bit, gets hit, sends the 22 in front.
Ooh.
Harmon gets through. AC
Barely.
doesn't. PJ O'Leary. Pandolf. The 5 of Brobery. Or Bryce Brower. The 45 of Brobery's in there as well. So that is the big one. Took out, looks like about half the field.
Yeah, it's a superhero sandwich from a 68 on back as Harmon somehow just barely clears, and everyone else behind him is racked and stacked up and onto each other as they go up into the outside retaining wall, collect each other, and then slide on down the racetrack. As I believe that was the biggest wreck we've seen all day long.
Yeah, it definitely was, because we basically had 4 cars not involved. So yeah, that's
Not 4. Because that fuse was lit when Vanderplatz got into the outside wall, like you said. That kind of forced a check up and a wad up, and boom goes the dynamite. We'll take a look at this one more time here.
no. Might be after it. Let's go back. Yeah, it doesn't quite catch it quite right. But just stacks up the whole field. So basically we're going to be
Old school Friday night 10-lap shootout style when we go back to green here.
so
And just
Thomas Harmon hit pit lane, comes out in 5th. We got Butcher Benjamin, who has not pitted since lap 53. Matt Burgess, lap 56. Jacob Gladulus 55. So we'll see if tires are important or if Butcher Benjamin just has the best car tonight.
Well, I can tell you on the ovals and the short courses, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, Harmon, and Austin Collins are probably the top three, in the long ball game as far as saving tires and fuel. Plate racing is a completely different animal, as you know, Mike, and I definitely wouldn't assimilate the two together because just how much drastically different plate racing is. But numbers don't lie. And as you said, Butcher Benjamin last down pit road on lap 53, Burgess lap 56, and DK lap 55, and yet they're the first three cars, 1, 2, 3 on the scoring pylon. We're about to find out here. And Taylor Butcher Benjamin hold competition off. As the lights go out on the pace car, that means we're going to take the green flag with just 10 laps remaining. Thomas the Hammer Harmon, the 68, finds himself mired back in 5th. Chris Vanderplatz in 6th. The 21 of Richard Springer all the way back in 14th. PJ O'Leary, a runner-up last night, is in 15th. Do they have the swagger to pilot those cars back up to the point? Or does Taylor the Butcher Benjamin take the steakhouse to the bank here at Daytona as these lights are out on the pace car?
And we'll see what's going to happen here, as I believe it's probably the two faster cars, or at least the two that have led most of these laps recently, are restarting 1-2 in that bottom row, and Butcher Benjamin and Jacob Gladulus. Matt Burgess up in that high lane. We'll see if he's going to be able to get a decent push from Henderson and Vanderplatz. But I think the guy you're going to want to watch out for is Thomas Harmon back there, third on that inside row. Just came down pit road and will be looking to make his move towards the front here.
Yeah, the magic man himself, Thomas Harmon, and that's 68. Does he have shades of the Intimidator, Dale Earnhardt Sr., who made this look easy? The task that he's about to take on if he wants to get the dub here in Daytona, as that field is racked and stacked. They are packed nice and tight as we get ready to uncork these boys one more time with 10 laps to go.
Pace car is in. Butcher Benjamin on that gas. He gets a little bit of a run, but Henderson and Burgess are hooked up. No real gap between them. We'll see if this outside lane can get moving towards the front. Burgess takes over the lead before we get to turn 1.
But just like that, here comes the bottom line charge, and back is now the Hammer Harmon. He is up to that third place on that bottom line, right alongside with Chris Vanderplatz. Up front, it's a drag race between Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Matt Burgess now takes the lead with a huge push from Henderson in the 25.
Yeah, that 25 is just pushing all over the place. If he can stay in line, Matt Burgess might have the car to beat with the pusher. As everybody's bouncing around there, it is definitely go time with 9 laps to go. Once we hit this stripe here, Burgess gets credit for the lead in that lap.
Burgess gets credit with 9 laps to go. 9 more times around this super speedway. We will crown a champion here at Daytona. Burgess continues to hold on to the lead. They're bouncing around again on that top shelf. Yeah, the 68 of Harmon gets way out of shape. He's able to collect it back up, and that allows Taylor Butcher Benjamin with a huge push from DK and company on the bottom to pull back alongside. But look at how the 12 is able to just get enough power and performance out of that race car with a single push from that 25 as he now reloads the push as he's all over the back of Chris Vanderplatz Watches CVP, pushes that 25 to the back of the 12, and that momentum carries Matt Burgess back out to the lead as he's now edging ahead of the 8 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin once again.
And these guys are definitely set for go time. As Henderson sticks his nose out, tries to get a little bit of fresh air to the nose of that car. Back behind Burgess, going to try and push him once again out in front, and he is doing just that. Vanderplatz and Harmon look like they're trying to set up a run as they get closer to the end of this race. Butcher Benjamin battling back on the low line and is going to move back towards the front before they come out of 4.
Yeah, you can really see how that top shelf is surging and compressing. It's almost like those cars are breathing. They get all bunched up, and all that energy pushes the 12 of Burgess out to the lead. Then they take a breath. Those top 3 cars those top 3 cars on the outside line behind Burgess, they stack back up again, and all that momentum comes thrusting back forward, which helps the 12 get out in front of the 8. But now that bottom shelf with Taylor Butcher Benjamin and the 14 of Jacob Glodulich, now really nicely racked or stacked and packed. They are nose to tail, and here they come charging back once again through the corner. I think it's going to be who's going to be formed up the best, coming to the checkered flag. Which line is going to look the nicest? Who's going to be decided the victor here? It's anyone's bet right now. Is they're still side by side, 2 lanes of traffic, fighting it, giving everything they got from Daytona with 6 laps to go.
I think if I'm anybody, I wanted to be that 10 car there of Vanderplatz. Sit in 3rd. Maybe you can kind of back up your run just a little bit to Harmon and take it on that outside of turn 4 and move towards the lead. You got about 6 laps to go as Benjamin and Burgess are side by side. Vanderplatz kind of sticking his nose out just a little bit, and so is DK Gladulis out there as well.
Yeah, they both kind of stuck their nose out there at the same time, simultaneously got a little close for comfort there. And I think you're right. That may be the person in the catbird seat, perhaps that 10 of Chris Vanderplatz. If he can get a really good time run with Harmon, like you said, they can take it 3 wide to the top shelf. But the question is, does the 25 of Henderson come up to block? Does he cause a massive wreck coming to the start-finish line? Does something happen with the bottom lane? Does something happen with Taylor Butcher, Benjamin, and DK? We don't know. We're holding on just like everyone else is in this live broadcast. Someone strip Grandma in, give her some more Colonel Free popcorn. It's about to get rowdy here until the end at Daytona. They're literally bouncing off of each other one more time.
They are getting squirrely. They're getting close. And one guy might get a little bit too close as we're working through 4 to go. Matt Burgess out to a car length and a half. We'll see if that bottom line can battle back, and it is doing just that. Butcher Benjamin down to the inside, and it's going to come almost even with Burgess as they're going down the backstretch.
Look at the commitment that Matt Burgess has to Blake Henderson in that top lane. I thought for certain he was going to come down with just 4 laps to go. He does not bail on his fire team on the high side of the racetrack. Oh no! DK
and the big one.
It. The big one unfolds. Multiple cars in it. Everyone's virtually spinning down to a stop as 3 laps now remain in competition. You just cannot race like that at almost 200 miles an hour, that close, that many laps side by side. As we go back to the SRM instant replay. Mike, walk us through it.
Oh my. All right, let's see. So we got side-by-side action. Looks like Gladulis starts sliding up a little bit. Keep sliding up, keep sliding up. Burgess slides down just enough. Checks him. Slides. Oh. Slides down and just collects the 19, the 18, the 22, the 66. Looks like the 66. Oh, gets a little bit of the 15 there.
Niederhelm almost needles his way through there. Look at the 21. The 21 of Springer gets through. I can't believe Richard Springer found a hole and was able to pilot that car through this. Watch this again.
This is from Springer's view here.
We go on board. Watch this mayhem and carnage. Looking for a hole. He found it. He was able to get through. Richard Springer with the near miss of the race. That could be the catalyst maybe to put some pep in the 21, because we know how good he was early, Mike, and he was bad fast.
Yeah, he's up to 8th right now, but there's damaged cars all around him.
Virtually everyone on this racetrack has some kind of damage on their race cars. The lightest car out there weight-wise has to be, beyond a shadow of a doubt, Taylor Butcher Benjamin. He was last down on road, Mike, as you told us now a bunch of times, on lap 53. The next car in that sequence to Taylor Butcher Benjamin, Blake Henderson at lap 70. So a huge difference in laps between the 8 and the 25. If you're light, is it done right does it take you to the checkered flag? Or is it somebody a little bit deeper in the pack like Chris Vanderplatz with some fresher Dr. Feelgoods on that race car that has the extra little bit of performance advantage, especially on these restarts, that are able to propel him to a win here at Daytona? Your bet is as good as mine. As we are stacked now for our first overtime finish here. Race 1, why not throw a little overtime action in there as well? Give everyone a full course meal here, because now we're staging up for some dessert.
Well, we went overtime last night. Why not make it 2 nights in a row?
You hit the nail right on the head, Mike. I mean, you got to go full send, go all the way, and no one says all the way or like overtime here in the DRL Cup Series. Taylor Butcher Benjamin, Blake Henderson, Chris Vanderplatz, Thomas the Hammer Harmon, Brandon Broby. That's the 45, and I think we've barely mentioned Brandon Broby virtually all day. This is the first time I think any one of us has said his name in that 45 machine, and he's sitting there in 5th.
Well, he started from the pits, so he already was, basically a lap down, worked his way back to the lead lap, and now he's sitting in 5th. So, heck of a run from him right now.
Yeah, he started basically over the next zip code. Out in the woods, you could say, this is a long facility, a long racetrack, 2.5 miles. So he virtually started, 2.5 miles down from everyone else, plus the amount of time it took him to get up to speed in single car formation. And yet he is there on the lead lap now in 5th. Does Brandon Broby have any magic left? We're about to find out. Does Richard Springer somehow find a way to get sprung back to the front? Or does Butcher Benjamin take it home? 3 laps to go. Green, white, checkered overtime finish about to unfold here at Daytona, as these drivers get ready to come through the turns 3 and 4 complex, racked and stacked side by side. Mike, if you're in the race car, do you prefer to be on the top or the bottom here?
I would say probably the top with 3 laps to go, because what's going to happen is you're going to want to try and take that 3 wide when you come out of 4.
Yeah, I agree, Mike, and we've seen that move so many times in real life as well. You think back to the Kevin Harvick, Mark Martin finish at Daytona a number of years ago when he was driving part-time in that Army car. That's really what comes to mind here, is that pace car pulls off. You're going to hit that Geico restart zone. Taylor Butcher Benjamin and company getting ready to drop the hammer here from Daytona, and we're off for 2 laps remaining. If we can make it back to the white flag, we are going to race from there. Should the caution come out before we make it back around, we'll restack them, we'll re-rack them, we'll attempt to do it again. It is a 2x2 side-by-side drag race coming off of turn 2 out of the backstretch.
Yeah, Vanderplatz looks like he's getting a little squirrely there behind Butcher Benjamin, as everybody's kind of spread out to 4 or 5 wide towards the back of the field, just trying to basically make their way through the race. Blake Henderson takes the lead.
Blake Henderson takes the lead as they have a Blue Angels formation just off back of this lead pack as they were 4 abreast. Look at Chris Vanderplatz in the 10. He's all over the back of Taylor Butcher Benjamin. He's going to push him out to the lead. Here comes Henderson charging back on the top shelf with the help of that 68 machine of Thomas Harmon. They are literally side by side coming to the line. If they can make it back all the way around.
Wrecking behind him.
We're still green. We're still green on the racetrack. Caution doesn't appear to come out. Everyone saved it. I don't know how.
Butcher Benjamin, Harmon, side by side, 3 wide in the middle.
Oh, hold on to it, boys. Hold on to it. This is really where it gets
Chris Vanderplatz slides up the track, and that is going to give the win
costly carnage
probably to Butcher Benjamin, as nobody has a run.
Oh, Taylor Butcher Benjamin is going to get the dub here in Daytona. Serving up some filet mignon of his own. He's going to get win number 1 of the season in a race run from Daytona. He's your champion. Big shout out to Chris Vanderplatz as he made that one possible. But what a heck of an effort for Taylor Butcher Benjamin. His heartbreaking carnage unfold for Thomas the Harmon, as some of those guys took some really big shots there, Mike.
Oh, they definitely did.
What a W for Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Brandon Broby, how about that? Mike comes home second, and Chris Vanderplatz, CVP, in third. The Pennsylvania native, he's going to burn it down Daytona style. Who would have thought? Picking up right where he left off last season.
Definitely better be sending somebody a thank you gift.
I'm sure he will. He's a very humble race car driver, I can tell you that. He certainly, we'll hear from him very shortly here in the broadcast interview, but he's burning it down right now, getting the rest of the good out of that race car, and rightfully so. Taking it through the grass like the Intimidator did when he won here in 1998. Very reminiscent. 45 of Brandon Broby in the 01, or the 10, I should say, of Chris Vanderplatz. Comes home in third. He's going to join them up here on the racetrack as we're going to interview the top 3 here momentarily right here on SRM.
Hey, Matt, you're going to be with Chris momentarily here.
Chris Vanderplatz, Matt and Mike up in the booth. You got us, bud.
I do, man. How are y'all?
Hey, we're doing fantastic. What a race. I know I asked you in practice if you had enough to go up there and win this thing, man, and you just about did. Talk to me through that final lap and how you were able to put yourself in a position to come home third.
Man, I was just fighting for my lane in the track. That's all I knew. There was a car in front of me, and I was following him. I was doing some private messages saying, I'm with you, and that's what I did.
Obviously, Chris is talking about a little strategery here. A lot of times at Daytona, these plate tracks, you need help. You need a battle buddy out there on the racetrack. Chris, it looked, if we go back, 15 to 20 laps before the end of this race, it seemed like you were struggling a little bit. Were you just trying to save that race car, or were you having some performance issues?
Are you going back to when I scraped the wall, or a little bit back before that?
The wall scrape.
The wall scrape, to be honest with you, I had some really fucking good cinnamon toast Eggos fed to me, and that just happened to be when I took a bite.
It is so easy to do that. But hey, the little cinnamon toast Eggo magic, and he comes home third. from a wild one in Daytona. CVP, before we cut you loose, who do you want to thank? Who helps you get it done on that 10 machine?
First of all, I got to say, hey, Hayden, I hope you're sleeping, but I hope you're awake. I got to thank Harpoon Designs for always keeping my car looking good. There's Under Pressure Power Washing out of San Antonio. They do a great job with commercial and residential services. Any of your exterior cleaning service needs, just look them up. And then I always got to say, hey, Mom, thanks for watching. Autumn, hi. I wish I could see y'all tomorrow. And outside of that, SRM, thank you for putting on a great broadcast, as I'm sure I'll watch. I got to say hi to Coley, Autumn, Taylor, Riley. And outside of that, thank you for Dynasty Racing League.
There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, your third place finisher here tonight. No one circles the wagons like Chris Vanderplatz. He comes home third. Mike, back to you.
Brandon, Mike up in the booth. How's it going, man?
Well, it's going pretty all right. How about you? How about yourself?
Oh, not bad. So it looked like you started from the pits, but you were able to work your way through the field and come home with a P2. How did that happen, I guess?
Yeah, so it was in the beginning of the race, I had actually had audio issues. So I spent most of the grid time just trying to figure out what the heck was going on with that. So unfortunately missed the start there, but spent the first at least like third of a race pretty much just hoping for a caution, just so I could get back up in the pack and race. Unfortunately, that caution was JP, my teammate, but luckily that caution did end up coming out. Ended up getting back up into the field and just pretty much drove for the last half of the race there, just trying to avoid any wrecks I could, and found myself in a good position there at the end. Looks like some scramble might have happened on going into 3, and ended up wrecking the top side, so ended up coming home with a P2, and I'll definitely take it, especially the day after the day of it.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, before we let you go, anybody you want to thank, and we'll let you, get back to celebrating your P2 here.
Yeah, I'd like to thank JP running the league. We got a good group of guys here, and it's fun to come out every Saturday and race with these guys. I want to thank you guys for broadcasting the race. You guys always do a really good job, and I always enjoy going back and watching the broadcast. And just want to thank everybody else tuning in. I've got friends and family that sit down and watch the race. So just want to thank all of them and thank them for their support.
Definitely, man. Well, congrats again on your P2 finish, and we will look forward to maybe talking to you next week.
Yep, thank you.
All right. Matt, you're going to be with Taylor Butcher Benjamin.
Hey, shake and bake himself. Taylor Butcher Benjamin, Matt and Mike up in the booth. You got us.
Yeah, I sure do.
Taylor, kind of picking up right where you left off last season. You come out of Daytona with the W. How were you able to survive that mayhem all race long in those packs and pilot that number 8 machine to the front of the field, hold that position? And we got to ask you, man, how close were you on fuel there to get it done here in Daytona?
Oh, well, I was pretty close for a while, and then all those caution laps just kind of helped that even more. But yeah, you definitely hit the nail on the head as far as just surviving to the end, because running these cars at this version of Daytona is a lot more difficult than you might think. And I'm still trying to get reused to this track, and I was getting dizzy there at the start from all those bumps. But yeah, I knew the on the green white checker restart, it was just going to be nonstop mayhem. And I thought at the white flag, I got too far out in front and I allowed Blake to get back to my outside. But luckily, I got a good enough push from Chris, and then they all wrecked behind me. So good to start the season off after a strong season last year with 5 wins. Good to start off in victory lane here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Going back to last season, 5 wins, certainly a high point for you. And you take all that momentum. I'm certainly sure that CVP is going to get a nice thank you card in the mail from you. As Mike and I thought the same thing. We figured you were out a little too far in front, but Chris was there. He had your back and was able to help you pilot that car through all the carnage and mayhem to come home here with a win. Who do you want to thank? Who helps you get it done on the 8th, sir?
I certainly want to shout out Richard Springer. Started on the pole and led for a while and managed to pull him a top 5. Thanks to Chris, of course, for giving me that last push, and everybody in the YouTube chat, my super fan, Sarah Campbell especially. Got to say hi to her, and thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast as always.
Oh, you're very welcome. Mike and I are, certainly proud to be up here calling the shots here, watching you guys do what you do at Daytona. Some of the finest Gen 4 racing you'll ever see on the iRacing server. He's your winner tonight from Daytona. Race 1 belongs to the butcher himself, Taylor the Butcher Benjamin. Mike, back to you.
Definitely, Matt. So that is race 1 in the books. Let's go ahead and jump over and show you the results here. Taylor Butcher Benjamin brings home the win. Brandon Brobery in second. Chris Vanderplatz in third. Marcus Chaffin in fourth. Richard Springer, after being involved in a late race caution, wound up coming home fifth. Austin Collins back in sixth. David Anderson seventh. Bryce Boyer in eighth. Thomas Harmon back to ninth. And Jacob Gladulus in 10th.
And I'll take you guys the rest of the way through the finishing order tonight. In 11th, PJ O'Leary, runner-up from last night, comes home 11th tonight. In 12th, San Niederhelm. Rolling home 13th, Blake Henderson. In 14th, Matt Burgess. 15th belongs to Dustin Musel. And probably the biggest heartbreak on the track tonight as he turned the fastest lap in the race, but didn't come home with the win. JP James Pandolf in 16th. Myself up here in the booth with Mike and Paul Pessler in the 31 car comes home 18th. Mike, what a race tonight. What a great way to start off the season. It was everything we thought it would be, but no one happier than Taylor Butcher Benjamin as he gets the big win from the big house at Daytona.
Definitely basically takes off right from where he left off last year. Gets the win here. We'll see what these guys can do next week when they tackle the Rock. But from everybody at Dynasty Racing League and all of us at Sim Racing Media, I am Mike Damone. He's Matt Metler, and we will see you next week. Good night, everybody.